Hi everybody. So we're going to be starting a new series of videos here, uh, really about Python and machine learning. Now you're probably excited about getting into machine learning. You may be excited about learning a new language, Python. One thing to be aware of is machine learning and learning how to apply machine learning for problems that you might have can be a pretty daunting challenge to learn everything that you need to learn. So we're going to take this a step at a time. We're going to try to do as we always do with the videos, which is simplify um, those more complicated and complex topics like machine learning. Today's video, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about Python, and we're going to show you how to get your initial tools set up. Now I want to note that I'm going to be doing this on Windows 10 Professional, but these tools will all work on Linux or Mac as well. And they are open source and free. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's just talk for a moment about what um, Python is. It's a language, and if you're a Monty Python fan, you'll find all kinds of little nods to Monty Python. The language is named because of Monty Python. And it's awesome for working with files, data, and easy to learn and use. Now, the reason it's so popular in machine learning is because it is so great to work with files and data. So there are also some really great machine learning libraries out there, and most of the examples that you'll find on the internet are all centered around Python when it comes to machine learning. So we're gonna be installing a couple of tools here. One is Anaconda, and Anaconda, you can think of Anaconda as just um, well, I guess I'd probably talk at a tool manager that basically puts all of your tools in one place and makes it very easy to use those tools. And whenever we start using a lot of open source tools, which are what most of the libraries in Python are, it can be very difficult to get all of those together in the right configuration. This would include using a graphics card, a GPU, a graphics processing unit, to do machine learning. And we'll probably do one or two videos just on that because that can be complicated by itself. But the point is Anaconda makes this really simple. Instead of you having to go out and figure out all these different ways to do it, it also, again, works across the different operating systems, which makes it really easy to set this up on different operating systems that you may be using. Jupyter Notebooks is one of the applications we're going to be using within Anaconda. It also is a standalone application, but we're going to use it from within Anaconda. We'll actually install Python. Python will get installed when we install Anaconda. So Jupyter Notebooks are just a really easy way to test, develop, and deploy and distribute repeatable Python code that's useful for machine learning. And Jupyter Notebooks are very powerful. And again, they're kind of a standard way. Now, you don't need to use Jupyter Notebooks or Anaconda if all you want to do is learn Python and you're not interested in machine learning that much. But I still think that these tools make it really easy to just jump in and get started. There's some other tools out there that you can use. Visual Studio Code is one of them. The Python distribution actually comes with its own little editor and ability to run Python code. We'll take a look at that as well. The point is that we're going to stick with Anaconda for now. So I'm going to go through the installation of that. And then in general, the channel and the videos that we'll be doing are going to follow this basic pattern. We're going to spend several videos looking at just Python language basics to make sure that we understand how to write code in Python and some of the nuances that is there. And then we'll spend some focus time looking at how we work with files. Just recently I was working with millions of files. Python makes it very easy, and you might think millions, wow, that's a lot. Yeah, when you're doing machine learning, which is what I'm doing right now, you will find that there's many cases where you are going to be working with a lot of data. And that data could be stored across millions of files in this case, which are image files that I happen to be using. We'll also look at just some of the awesome Python libraries that are out there, and then we're going to pivot a little bit and get into machine learning basics. And then finally we'll loop back around with machine learning with Python. Now, I want to caution you right now that machine learning, again, is a very wide and deep topic. And we'll show you some specific examples, but there's a lot of things out there and the industry is changing very quickly. So Python and these tools that we're using, if you'll learn those, then it'll make it really easy for you to keep up. Now, I'm going to go ahead and install Anaconda. So I'm going to kill my presentation here and we'll jump over to Google. And all you need to do at Google search is just type Anaconda. And you'll find it comes up and says, oh, this is the world's most popular data science platform. Data science is what we do, what we call working with data, especially in a machine learning context. And we're not trying to get the snakes, but we are trying to get the actual tool. So we'll go ahead and click into this. And if you look under products, you want the Anaconda distribution. If you're on a Mac, it will come up and automatically prompt you for that. Oops, I have a cookie accept down here I need to do. You'll notice the different versions. Again, I told you it works on all three of these operating systems. Because I'm on Windows, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'd recommend you get the Python 3.7 version and the 64-bit graphical installer. You'll have different options for these other operating systems. Python comes in different languages, or different versions of the language. The latest is 3.7. The older version is 2.7. There were some significant differences between these two. So if you happen to be working with some older Python code, you might need to use the 2.7 release. But we're going to go ahead and just start this. Now, I'm going to pause the video while this downloads, and then once it's ready to install, we'll pick back up. Okay, so our download is complete, so I'm going to go ahead and open this. And you'll have an installer that you can use. So just click through these. You can read through the license agreement that you're agreeing to here. And then for now, I'm just going to take the defaults, just me. And the reason it gave me this is because I've already got this, I already had a version of this installed, so I'm going to jump over and fix this real quick. So I'll show you this just in case you do a reinstall, but in Windows there's a .anaconda directory in your home folder here, and this is what it's complaining about, so I'm just going to remove this. And then we can continue on with our installation. If you're doing a first time install, you've never installed it, you won't get that prompt. So let's go from there. And the other folder that you need to remove is this Anaconda 3 folder. For some reason, when you uninstall, it doesn't clean all this stuff up. So if you end up doing multiple installs, you need to do that. Okay, so register Anaconda as my default Python 3.7, yes. We're going to leave the other options as is. You will be doing some things with the command line or the terminal. I'm specifically going to be using PowerShell with Windows. You can use the terminal in the Mac or Bash, a Bash command terminal session in Linux. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch as it goes through this. I'll just restart, or I'll unpause the video whenever some decision needs to be made here in the installation. So be right back. So if you click on the details button, you'll notice this. You can see what it's doing. It's basically installing a whole bunch of data science and machine learning capabilities as part of the installation. So this is my point. Anaconda basically packages all this together, gets the right versions of everything in one place for you so that you don't have to worry about all of that. And that can be a big help. Okay, we're ready to continue on. You can see that it's got through this stage of the installation. This is telling you basically that there's a couple of integrated development environments that you can use. And Visual Studio Code, as I mentioned, is one. PyCharm's another one. And that's coming from JetBrains. They do great tools like IntelliJ. We're not going to bother with any of that right now. We may look at those a little bit later. And you can go ahead and read through these. I'm going to uncheck these right now, and we'll just hit finish. All right, so now over here on the command, in the shell, if we type Anaconda, you're going to see a couple of different things here. One is Anaconda Navigator, which we're going to run first, but there's also an Anaconda prompt and PowerShell prompt. So I'm going to go ahead before we run the Navigator and just show you how to get into the command line for Anaconda. This is important when you need to install or update. It's a lot easier just to do it from the command line. So the nice thing about this is if you now Python's not set up to just run with any command window that you bring up at this point. On the Mac it will be, but on Windows it isn't. So you have to either do the PowerShell prompt or just the regular command prompt for Anaconda. Make sure you pick one of those two. And I can find out if Python's installed by simply typing Python, and you'll notice that sure enough it is installed. The interpreter's right there. And so we'll go ahead and Control Z out of that to exit. And to upgrade or update Anaconda, you say conda, which is short for Anaconda, update conda. What this says is, hey, go update Anaconda. All that stuff we just installed. So I'm going to go ahead and run that just to make sure that we're running the latest and greatest. We should be. And this is a really, really nice capability that this has to basically go out and find the packages that it needs to find and put those together for us. So, and it comes back and says all requested packages are already installed. So what that means is, as these packages update, the Anaconda install gets updated with them. So whenever you install Anaconda, you're going to get the latest and greatest of those packages. Okay, so we'll exit out of this for right now. And we're going to go ahead and run the Anaconda Navigator. And you can put a link to this desktop. You can put a link to this, like I am going to pin this to the taskbar. And then I can just run it from here. So here's what it looks like. Now, the user interface for Anaconda is done through a web browser. And so what you'll see happen here is it's going to fire up a web browser session of Anaconda, and it does some initialization the first time you install it, which is what it's doing right now. Now, I already have some work that I've done on this computer, so things may look a little bit different than what you've got, and we'll just hit OK here. All right, so here's some of the tools that it installs by default. Jupyter Lab, Notebook, and Spider, and we're gonna take a look at Jupyter Notebook here in just a minute. You can hit install and it will install Visual Studio Code. Now, the thing I want to caution you about with any of these tools is if you install them independently outside of Anaconda, you could run into some problems, specifically with the environment and path settings. So if you don't have Visual Studio Code installed already, you'll want to do it through Anaconda here, or you'll want to, if you go ahead and install it separately outside of Anaconda, then what that means is you'll have to set up all the Python paths and library paths for Python in Visual Studio Code. So remember that Anaconda is not a IDE. It's not an integrated development environment. It's an integration platform that basically brings tools and libraries all together into one place, and it keeps track of the versions and helps you keep all of that working the way it's supposed to. I'm going to go ahead and launch it Jupyter Notebook. So here we are in a web browser. I've created some notebooks already, and so we'll be looking at those over time. But what I'm going to do over here, Jupyter Notebook, again, is a web-based tool that allows us to create it's a notebook. I mean, that's why it's called a notebook. Basically, it's like if you were doing research as a data scientist, you might have a notebook for a particular project. That's what this does. It's an electronic notebook or notepad. And so I'm just going to select new Python 3, a new Python 3 notebook, which means that the notebook will have the ability to run Python code. And I will prove that to you by doing a print hello from Python. And I'm going to hit run on this. And you'll notice it comes right back and says hello from Python. So there you've written your hello world program, which is the first program we always write when we're learning a new language. So you'll notice that it has another cell here. So I can put another print statement in and run that. Okay, so here's the notebook part. I can come back up here and I can run this again. And I can come back in here and I can change the prompt and run it again. And so this ability to be able to jump back, Python is interpreted, which makes this a lot easier. But the ability to be able to jump back, make changes, and come forward makes things really nice. So we can do a simple assignment like this. And then we can insert another cell below this. And we can say print x. And let's see what that does. So we assign a variable. And we'll get into more details about what this is actually doing. Okay, so now if I come up here and change this, but jump down here and just run this cell, it's still 9 because I haven't rerun this cell. But when I run this cell and then run it, you'll notice it changes. So under the kernel menu, you can say restart and run all, and it will just run the whole thing. So there it went through and ran everything. And you can run these individually as well. So we'll get into more details about how to use Jupyter Notebook and some of the features. You can save your notebook right here. It's going to save it in your home directory and just let it manage the files for you. Don't try to kind of overthink how you're doing that. Okay, so there's a really quick glance at a Jupyter Notebook and an Anaconda. Now what we're going to do is go write a similar program in straight Python using idle. So the Python distribution is open source and free, and it includes a little editor called idle that lets you run programs. And the way we get to idle is we either go to the PowerShell prompt or the Anaconda PowerShell prompt or the Anaconda prompt. Now, if you've installed Python separately, my recommendation is you uninstall it and then reinstall by going to Anaconda and doing the installation. That will let everything work together. If you don't do that, you're going to be managing and trying to configure things separately. So I'm going to go ahead into this PowerShell prompt, and I'm simply going to type idle. And because that's part of Python, it comes up. And this is a Python shell now that I can run things in. So for example, I can say print hello, and it will print hello. So this is just a command interpreter. If I want to create a Python program, I can under File select New File, and I can say print hello from Python, and I can say x equals 10, and I can say print x, and we'll go more into the commands of Python and how this is all working. And then if I go ahead and run the module right here, under the run option, it says source must be saved, okay to save. And now it's going to prompt me where I want to save this. And for now, I'm just going to save it on my desktop and call it test1. We'll talk more about how to manage your files. And then I can go, then it will run, and you'll notice over here it runs in this shell. So this is your editor window for that program. This is the shell showing that it ran. All right, so just to recap really quick, we have installed Python by using Anaconda. That also installed some other useful tools like Jupyter Notebooks, which we're going to get more familiar with as we learn more about machine learning and data science. So watch for more videos on just the syntax of Python. We're going to spend several videos just going over, hey, how do you actually write the code in Python? Python's a simple language. You'll find it very powerful and very useful. And I use it more and more on a day-to-day basis just to do simple tasks that are not even related to machine learning. So I think you're going to find it great to learn another language called Python. And we'll catch you on the next video. Please like this video if you do like it. That helps support us so that we can continue to make videos. And look for a long series of videos on Python, machine learning, and the tools around machine learning. That's it for now. Thanks.